What's up guys, Josh here. Now today I wanted to talk about something. I know I'm a little late for jumping onto this topic, but it's something that's really cool, and this actually came out roughly several weeks ago, and it's something that not too many of you would be surprised about, and it's something that a few of you would make your jaw drop, especially if you haven't been paying attention to what Shelby's been doing with a Mustang. So they took a Shelby Mustang and they gave it 1,000 horsepower. And that's what they did. So it seems like Ford's trying to be like Dodge. And I think they're doing a pretty good job of it. So that's what is going on. So that is the topic for today's video. So Hennessy Performance came out with the all-new Ford Shelby GT 500 Mustang that has 1,000 horsepower and is hella fast, as you could ever imagine, and is a competitor with every type of car rated at that type of horsepower rating, whether it's a Hellcat or any type of Porsche or Lambo, Jeep Trackhawk, anything within that range, it's a good competitor for. So now here's the catch with this horsepower. The Mustang has 1,000 horsepower when only running on E85 gas. So E85 gas is gas that runs on higher ethanol levels. Typically, they have a higher level of ethanol between 51 and 83%. So that depends on the geography and season. So I guess it would depend on, like if it's cold or if it's hot. So ultimately it would depend on, I guess, like the temperature and everything. So what type of MPG, again, not that MPG really matters, because when you drive in Mexico, who the hell cares how much miles per gallon you get? And if you run on regular gas, just plain old straight up 87 octane, you get 900 horsepower, which isn't bad considering the fact that you're just getting regular gasoline. I would say majority of gas stations have E85 gas, so you should be pretty okay with that unless you run into a gas station that doesn't have E85. Then you're just going to have to get regular gas and stick with the 900 horsepower, which that isn't bad either, considering it's a little weird to me. I don't know why I think it has to do with the modifications on why horsepower changes when you put a certain type of gasoline in the car. I've never heard of that, unless I don't have too much experience, but I'm a fairly new car YouTuber, so I'll build more experience as I go. So the reason why it has these weird fluctuations between 1,000 and 900 horsepower, depending on what type of gasoline you put in it, is due to modifications to the 5.2 liter supercharged motor V8. So maybe it's something, it's the way they tuned it, that it has that setting. But hey, I mean, there'll probably be some very smart car guys that will probably find a way around fixing that, probably to give you 1,000 horsepower no matter what type of gas you get, whether it's E85 or straight up regular gas. So John Hennessy thought this thing just needed more power. So John Hennessy just looked at this Shelby Mustang and thought that 700 plus horsepower wasn't enough. He was probably like, he said, quote for quote, yeah, that thing needs more power. And yeah, so he ain't kidding when he said that. He was probably like, 760 something horsepower. Oh, no. We bumping this thing up to 1,000 horsepower. We gonna make this thing rocket fast. And that's what he did. So kudos to him and Jason Haynes, which is the Director of Research and Development of Hennessy Performance. So what he does is, Jason Haynes, he looks for parts that, would fit best with whatever car that Shelby would design, and determine what parts that the car needs, or truck, in order to perform well, and help develop those cars to ultimately get them up and running well. That's what he does. So put it into the simplest terms, he helps out pick the best parts and modifications to help the cars run and perform as best as they should. Now there was a video made where Jason Haynes and someone else raced in a Porsche 911 Turbo S and a Ford Shelby 1,000 horsepower Mustang. and you're going to be very interested to hear this. They raced in a closed course, and as you can see in the video, the Mustang easily overtook the 911. You could see in the video that Mustang has an easy start by what it looks like. It just looks like it's easily leaving the Porsche in the dust, but the Porsche just slowly, just like barely keeps up. But the Mustang just ultimately leaves the Porsche in the dust. It just leaves it behind. So, the Mustang is, Shelby did a really good job with it. So kudos to them for making one Mustang that is really making a name for itself. It's quite impressive, if you ask me and other people, how close the 911 was to the Mustang in the video. And in the second race, the Mustang outran the 911 again. And it really showed that the Mustang has what it takes to outrun anything under 1,000 horsepower. So there you go. It shows, be interesting to see that Mustang race a Hellcat, which is probably going to happen very soon. I wouldn't be surprised. Or even a Dodge Demon. The results will probably be very close if you ask me, but that's what I say. Because the Porsche 911 Turbo S gets 641 horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque. As close as that thing kept up with that Mustang, it really showed that horsepower doesn't really seem to be as much as a factor as you may think, but horsepower can be a huge factor in determining how fast a car is, and torque. Horsepower and torque can be a huge factor in how fast a car or truck is in overtaking another one. So that's why I said that if that Shelby Mustang ever raced like a Hellcat or a Demon, the results would probably be very close because of how close that other car kept up. So I think Ford's probably going to try to improve on that, but I guess we shall see. The video was made by Hennessy Performance, which has Hennessy's 2011 Porsche 911 Turbo S, which is the car that the Mustang overtook in the video. Yeah, so as far as that video goes, it's I think Ford is very happy that the Mustang overall won, even though that they kind of wish that the other car was left in the dust a little more. But I'd say the results are still really good for what they were. Originally, these Shelby Mustangs came with 760 horsepower and 625 pound-feet of torque. Now, that right there is still really impressive for a car with a supercharged 5.2 liter V8. So, can't beat that. Unless you care about gas mileage. Who cares about gas mileage when you're trying to enjoy your cars for what they are? And they just added at least a couple hundred more horsepower. They added about, I would say, 240 more horsepower and 225 more pound-feet of torque. So that's quite an improvement considering what it is. So we'll get into some modifications that this new Shelby has, and those include high flow fuel injectors, which are supposed to send the best flow possible, anodized billet fuel rails, a new fuel line, a better intercooler cooling brick, as well as a requisite engine and transmission calibration. So it sounds like they really made quite the modifications with this thing. They really want to get the fuel pumping from the engine throughout the system to the exhaust as much as they possibly can to get the best performance out of this car. So it seems like they're doing a really good job with that. This car has a few Hennessy badges placed on it and a Venom 1000, though the design isn't supposed to be all that much different. It is recommended for customers to get the carbon fiber track pack, which reduces weight with a rear seat delete, 20-inch carbon fiber wheels, and a quad exhaust. Now, so I guess they basically want you to get rid of the back seat to reduce the weight of the car, ultimately giving you better performance. Because when you reduce weight in a car, you ultimately get better performance. Like you see in racing all the time, when they take stereos and little stupid things vents and radios and, oh my god, things like that. I mean, center consoles, that all adds weight. Even with that cooler filled with all that beer that you didn't finish from the campground from last weekend. Yeah, so no prices were announced for this car yet, but it's estimated it's going to be roughly around $77,000 to start, so it's not cheap at all. So you gotta have quite the moolah if you want that car, so start saving up if you want it. It's said it's going to be a very expensive job. For the work, I am not too sure why, but it is. Plus the price of the donor car. While they tested this car on Hennessy's circuit, Haynes was able to hit some pretty high speeds in a pretty short period of time, so this thing is relatively quick if that's the case. Since they know that Mustang drivers crash so much. For those who don't know, Mustang drivers have a notorious reputation for not making it too far up the street. Just hitting whatever, trying to do a drift and just hit the curb or hit a tree or whatever's on the side. And just ultimately not getting too far. Hennessy's going to try to do something to ensure that it doesn't happen, or at least not happen so much. And how they're going to do this is there's going to be some type of process. I'm not too sure what the process is going to be, but it's going to take place, I guess, when you buy the car. I guess they're going to have somebody from the dealership take you on the road, I guess, make sure that you know how to drive it. I guess that's how I think it's going to go. I can't say for sure, but that's just ultimately my best guess. Yeah, so I think this is going to be a really big game changer for Ford, and I think they got a really good thing going for them, along with the Ford Ranger Raptor coming to the US, which I made a video on. You can go over and check that out if you want. Yeah, so let me know how many of you are excited to see a 1,000 horsepower Mustang in the comments section. I think this car is going to be sold at a pretty good rate, and yeah, so I think that's pretty much it with this video. Well, anyway, that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you do not miss out one of my informative videos or other cool videos that I put out. And along with that, I'll see you next time.